His views on the nature of justice and his ideas about the ideal state continue to inspire philosophical inquiry and debate today. Welcome to Icons of History, where we dive deep into the past to uncover the stories of the individuals who shaped our world. From great leaders to visionaries who changed the course of humanity, here we bring you the tales of the icons who left an indelible mark on the pages of history. Plato, one of the most influential philosophers in Western history, has left an indelible mark on philosophy, politics, science, and mathematics. Born around 427 BCE in Athens, Greece, his ideas continue to shape thought in academic disciplines. In this video, we will explore the life of Plato, the revolutionary works he produced, and the enduring legacy he left behind. His contributions not only laid the foundation for Western philosophy, but also provided a framework for how we understand the world today. Plato was born into an aristocratic family in Athens, Greece. His full name was Aristocles, but he is better known by his nickname, Plato. There are various theories about the origin of the name Plato. One popular theory suggests it came from the Greek word Platos, meaning broad, possibly referring to his broad shoulders or the breadth of his intellectual capacities. Plato's family background was one of wealth and political prominence. His father, Aristotle, was descended from the kings of Athens, while his mother, Perictione, came from a family of influential statesmen. Early in his life, Plato was exposed to the political climate of Athens, which would later deeply influence his philosophical views. He was well educated, receiving training in poetry, music, and gymnastics, all of which were part of the traditional Greek education system. But Plato soon gravitated toward philosophy under the influence of the famous philosopher Socrates. Plato's life was deeply intertwined with the figure of Socrates, his mentor and the central character in many of his dialogues. Socrates, though known to us only through Plato's writings, was a philosopher who focused on the nature of ethics, virtue, and knowledge. His method, known as the Socratic method, involved asking a series of probing questions to stimulate critical thinking and expose contradictions in people's beliefs. Plato was profoundly influenced by Socrates, both intellectually and personally. He joined Socrates' inner circle and spent many years learning from him. Plato even witnessed the trial of Socrates, where Socrates was sentenced to death for corrupting the youth of Athens and impiety. The event was a turning point for Plato, fueling his disillusionment with the political system of Athens and strengthening his resolve to seek a better understanding of justice, knowledge, and the nature of the soul. After Socrates' death in 399 BCE, Plato left Athens for several years, traveling throughout the Mediterranean. He spent time in places like Egypt and Italy, studying mathematics and engaging with other philosophical traditions. Upon his return to Athens, Plato founded his own philosophical school, the Academy, around 387 BCE. The Academy, which Plato founded, was one of the first institutions of higher learning in the Western world. It became a gathering place for philosophers and thinkers who sought to explore questions of ethics, politics, metaphysics, and epistemology. The Academy functioned for nearly 900 years, until it was closed by the Roman Emperor Justinian in 529 CE. Plato's written works are primarily dialogues, where different characters engage in philosophical discussions. The most important and enduring of these dialogues include The Republic. Plato's most famous work, The Republic, presents his vision of an ideal state governed by philosopher kings. The dialogue explores the nature of justice, the structure of society, and the relationship between the individual and the state. Through the character of Socrates, Plato discusses the roles of different classes in society and the importance of knowledge and wisdom in ruling. The work also introduces the concept of the allegory of the cave, a metaphor for the difference between the world of appearances and the world of reality. The Symposium. In this dialogue, Plato examines the nature of love, eros, through a series of speeches at a banquet. The philosophical discourse delves into topics such as the relationship between physical attraction and the pursuit of higher knowledge, with the final speech, given by Socrates, presenting love as a path toward the divine and the eternal. Phaedo. The Phaedo centers on the last hours of Socrates' life, providing a philosophical discussion about the immortality of the soul and the nature of life and death. Through Socrates' dialogues with his disciples, Plato presents his theories on the soul's immortality and the importance of philosophy as a preparation for death. Timaeus. This dialogue focuses on the nature of the physical world and the cosmos, introducing Plato's theory of the universe as the product of a divine craftsman. Plato discusses the creation of the world, the role of mathematics, and the relationship between the physical and metaphysical realms. One of Plato's most famous and controversial contributions to philosophy is his theory of forms. According to Plato, the material world we perceive with our senses is only a shadow or imperfect representation of a higher, unchanging reality. This higher reality is made up of forms, perfect, eternal, and immutable concepts or ideals. These works, among others, reflect Plato's vast intellectual reach in his attempts to understand the fundamental nature of reality, morality, and the human condition. One of Plato's most famous and controversial contributions to philosophy is his theory of forms. According to Plato, the material world we perceive with our senses is only a shadow or imperfect representation of a higher, unchanging reality. This higher reality is made up of forms, perfect, eternal, and immutable concepts or ideals. For example, the form of beauty is the perfect, ideal version of beauty, while every beautiful object in the material world is merely a reflection of this ideal. The theory of forms challenges the traditional understanding of reality and the nature of knowledge. Plato argued that true knowledge is not gained through the senses, but through reason and intellectual insight into the forms. This theory has had a profound influence on metaphysics and epistemology in Western philosophy. Plato's political philosophy is most fully articulated in the Republic. He famously proposed a hierarchical, class-based society consisting of three main classes: the rulers, the auxiliaries, and the producers. Each class had its own specific role and responsibilities, with the philosopher kings being the most important, as they possessed the wisdom and knowledge needed to govern justly. Plato's ideal state is one where justice prevails, and the state operates in harmony with its natural divisions. However, his ideas about a rigid, hierarchical society have been criticized for being undemocratic and authoritarian. Nonetheless, Plato's political ideas have had a significant influence on subsequent political theory, particularly in discussions about the nature of justice, the role of rulers, and the relationship between individuals and the state. Plato's influence on Western thought is immeasurable. His works laid the foundation for much of Western philosophy, particularly in areas like metaphysics, ethics, politics, and epistemology. His ideas about the nature of reality and knowledge influenced countless philosophers, including Aristotle, Augustine, Descartes, Kant, and even modern thinkers like Heidegger and Wittgenstein. In addition to his direct influence on philosophy, Plato's thoughts on politics, ethics, and education have had a lasting impact on Western political and educational systems. The concept of the philosopher king in the Republic, for instance, has inspired debates on the nature of political leadership and the role of wisdom in governance. The concept of the philosopher king in the Republic, for instance, has inspired debates on the nature of political leadership and the role of wisdom in governance. The academy, which Plato founded, continued to thrive for centuries, serving as a model for subsequent institutions of higher learning. His influence can be seen in the works of his students, particularly Aristotle, who took many of Plato's ideas and developed them further, though often in opposition to Plato's views. Plato's life and work represent a monumental contribution to philosophy and the intellectual legacy of the Western world. Plato's life and work represent a monumental contribution to philosophy and the intellectual legacy of the Western world. Through his dialogues, Plato shaped the course of Western thought, offering profound insights into the nature of knowledge, reality, ethics, politics, and the human condition. His theory of forms, his views on the nature of justice, and his ideas about the ideal state continue to inspire philosophical inquiry and debate today. Plato's legacy endures not only in the realm of philosophy, but also in our broader cultural and intellectual traditions, cementing his place as one of the most important figures in the history of human thought. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time with icons of history. If you enjoyed the story, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay updated with our latest videos. See you next time as we explore more icons who made history.